a number of people, there are about 600 people
Yep.
on that challenge group. And I would say that 5% of them paddle SIC boards.
Ah, wow.
And they are SIC fanatics.
Yeah,
I'm one of them.
yeah.
Full disclosure. So what we did was we kind of sent out a little email to the folks that paddle SIC boards
Yeah.
and said, if you had a chance to talk to Mark, what would you want to ask him?
Yes.
So
Really?
most of the questions I'm going to shoot at you are from them.
Good.
So kind of a crowdsourcing thing.
Yeah.
I'll find them here. And then we'll get started. While I'm looking for that, tell me a little bit about the operation here. What you got going?
This operation moved from downtown area, right where Costco gas station is now. We had a giant warehouse there. About 4 years ago, we moved it up here. It was an old train repair station, and we've got this. This was a pineapple machinery storage place, and it was just now it's better laid out as a part factory, part dig repair shop. The other place was so big; it was 11,000 square foot, and so it just grew and grew without much planning. So this one's better planned out, and started it solely as a custom shop, but now it has turned out more as an R&D shop for next year's production boards. And you still get custom boards if somebody wants like something right behind you, or something wider, narrower, thicker, or lighter often, or team riders want a specialty board. It's ordered here, produced here. We have 5 really good crew members who've been in here for a long time and know what they're doing. So it's not like anybody needs any training here. They know what lightweight means. They know what good painting means. Yeah.
And approximately how many boards go out of here every year?
About 80 to 100.
Wow.
We can do about 2 boards a week.
And the most popular board that you produce here?
We're still doing the unlimited as the most popular, anywhere from 14 to 18 and a half. But it's moving more into the 12.6 range too. We get orders for really lightweight, specialty paddle type boards.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to move more into the surfboards too, more classic tin jobs, die jobs, surf SUP.
And most of the boards are going to folks here on Maui, or?
No, about 60-70% gets shipped out. Yeah, so we have crating, cardboard boxes, or sometimes board bags. In the island, just board bags, crating for East Coast. West Coast, we do cardboard. Yep.
Okay. All right, on to the 100-100 questions. The first one up was, what do you see happening in the future with board materials?
I think the board materials, it's a bit of a technical jargons here and there, but a lot of people still use woven glass, but more maybe the stitched glass and the stitched carbons are going to get more popular because the weaves don't have to go up and down. You have better strength to weight ratio. Inagra is probably a lot talked about. It's basically a plastic fiber, good for ding resistance. It doesn't get you much stiffness though. But so maybe strips here and there where there's a lot of impact damage from before. There is no real new core materials that I know of, so I think we're all still stuck with styrofoam. It's kind of an evil necessity because it absorbs water, but it's really lightweight, really affordable, and really easy to machine. So we'll keep going with that. I personally believe in hollow, especially after 12 foot, getting rid of the core and building all your strength from the outside. I believe in. It's almost like the analogy of a truck. You can build an F-150 pickup truck with a big frame and a car on top, or you can build a like a Honda Civic or a more modern Japanese car where the strength is on the outside. Hollow has that advantage of strength on the outside, a lot of impact resistance. Canoes are built that way, wave skis, a lot of things are built that way. But if you're building a 9-foot SUP waveboard, that doesn't make much sense because the weight of the core is so little. Because you're looking at a 100-liter board, if you're looking at a 300-liter board, the equations are different. Other materials are out there. I just came back from a composite show in Texas, and we're getting better and better epoxies out there that cure really well at room temperature versus the better epoxies in the olden days were all highly elevated temperatures, which we cannot use because styrofoam melts at low temperatures. There's some hemp fibers that are out there that are fun. They supposedly are more green. I have my whole theories on what is green. I think going to the Salvation Army and buying used equipment or sitting underneath the trees are a lot more green than keep on trying to produce more and more product. But whatever, you know, to each their own. What else did I see that was interesting there? There is some Neil sandwich materials that are out there that are really strong, but they're still a little bit cost prohibitive to proceed with. They're harder to work with, and in a marine environment sometimes when it's not closed cell, can't use it. Other materials that are amazing. I'm tinkering with surfaces on the bottom of the board, especially on the race boards. Materials that have less of a problem with the flow on the bottom of the board. Some materials release better the water or adheres better the water to, almost like plastic materials versus car paints or gel coats. I believe the next revolution can be into not necessarily in the shape, but more in the materials that are being used, so where there's less drag because water flows over water versus a composite flows over water. I mean, a lot of people have been trying and made some test samples, and I think I'm starting to understand that we should pay more attention to what we actually spray on the bottom of the board. Some people will rub a product on it, but I believe that there's more. We should look at fish or other animals swimming in the water where it seems amazing that the amount of output that a fish would have and the speed they can swim in is something that we can all learn from, I think. So I'm tinkering with those ideas, but nothing that can come out to market yet.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really good stuff. What about design of race boards for the future? Do you, in the next short-term future, 3 to 5 years, subtle changes, or do you think they're going to be some pretty drastic, dramatic?
I think the SUP is almost like windsurfing 10 or 15 years ago. Whoever says they figured it all out hasn't understand the very question of design and changes. I think it will always change. One simple thing is there's a lot of focus right now on how wide is your board or how long is your board. I think what not a lot of people pay attention to is the width of a board is one part of the whole stability factor. If you have a full outline versus a really pointy nose and tail, in two similar boards, a 24-inch wide board can be tippy or very stable. If you make a board with a very small undertuck versus a giant rounded rail tuck, the balancing platform underneath your feet can be quite drastically different, and boards can still be the same width. So paying attention to what you got underneath your feet, as you know, the flat area from undertuck edge to undertuck edge, that often matters more than the width. In length, I think the bulk of the people like something 12 foot or so or less. It's just because of the logistics of storing the board. And I personally like the 14 and the 17 foot boards, but I have the luxury of a big garage, pickup truck, and my buddies that all have them too. We all go out and ride big boards, so it's not fun to go out on your 11 foot board if your buddies ride unlimited boards. But they are more fun for distance.
What do you think about more women starting to go up to the 14, even the shorter ones?
Yeah, I think with a little bit lower volume, narrower one, and it's going to be fun for them too. I mean, I've heard statistics of half the SUP purchases are done by females, so it's super important. There's already female specific designed product out there. It makes sense. You know, your shoulder output of a guy is just different than a girl, and girls can be better at SUP and other levels, not maybe in the power, but they're always better in balance. They're less self-conscious when it comes down to tipping over or falling in the water. Guys are often not necessarily macho, but there's a certain amount of like, oh, I can do this, you know, I don't want to fall in the water. So I think women pick up the sport faster. But what is also important that the boards stay lightweight, because no matter what, you got to get it on and off your car. If it's a hassle, or if it's just plain old, the handles are not placed correctly, it's hard to do. 14 foot catches the wind, you get it off the water, you get it off your car, and suddenly there's a 14 foot object and 20 knots of wind.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Absolutely. Great question. Why is SIC so dominant in downwinder boards? I mean, you go into almost any shop that I've ever been in, say you want to, tell them you want to start learning how to downwind, or you want a downwind board, and they always point to SIC.
Yeah.
What's the...
Well, it doesn't hurt that we have a good practice coastline, you know, and we've been doing it for a while, and so it's time trying new stuff. Before SIC really grew, I was not always that interested in like trying to make a product that would possibly sell. My number one focus is like, I gotta build a board that is faster than anything out there, and so I kept tinkering and tinkering, even if it cost me money, I didn't care. So trial, and then really good waterman, testing it, giving me feedback. I used to paddle a lot myself, and when I didn't have shoulder issues, I would try any board that I can get my hands on. It's like, and I was often frustrated. It's like the board was good, but it was never really good enough. So back to the shaping bay I went. The fact that we have outrigger canoes here, that we try and keep up with them, they're already by nature way faster, so now we're trying to keep up with them, and learning from them that downwinding is not about building the fastest possible board out there. It's also being maneuverable and having the ocean, or at least the chop, the swells, do the work for you. Understanding that part is you can only paddle that much, but if you catch a bump and you can use the energy of that bump with a steering system, or at least make a maneuverable board that doesn't purl too much. Understanding that concept, I think, what made SIC do well is you gotta build a lightweight product, catches the swell easy, and once on the swell, you can maintain to stay in that energy spot, and don't make it too tippy, don't make it too wide. Yeah, it's a combination of a bunch of things, and I was there in the early days. I started with the large boards, and I think a bunch of locals here just plain old think it's a lot of fun, and that's why we don't excel in flat water, because we have like the perfect run downwind. We're lazy. We go and we use the car to go upwind, or the shuttle, and we go. It's all about for us, for having fun. You see, same with mountain biking here. We have a big mountain, so what gets popular here is the mountain biking with full shock suspension and going down and yeah.
Do you mountain bike?
A little bit, yeah. But
Nice.
actually, funny enough, I use my road bike more than my mountain bike. I use it for transportation a lot. But what I was trying to say is, it's when people have a choice, they go for something that's fun.
Right.
And it's just a lot of fun and the conditions are good. If we lived in Lake Mead in Nevada or somewhere in a tranquil lake, I don't think SIC would be a different company. Yeah.
You mentioned the feedback. Do you get a lot of feedback from the average Joe and Jane paddlers, and do you take that into account?
I do. Sometimes the best of paddlers, our team has a bunch of really good competitive paddlers, but I get some really simple advice that makes more sense to get at least a production board more popular, you know. Our team riders don't care if the handle is really ergonomic and comfortable. They're just happy with two little strings on the side of it and stick the paddle through it and off you go. But sometimes you gotta also go back to the real world, you know. And our team riders don't care if the board scratches because they get the boards for free, you know. It's like, but some people spend $3,000-4,000 and if it's chipped up, you know, that's a bummer. And so stability-wise too, our team is so agile. They're okay with a 23-inch wide board, but you know, some people work 40 hours a week and they go out on their spare time, and so they want a little bit of fun and stability in the product.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. If you weren't doing this, shaping boards, what would you be doing?
I love to read. Visiting the library, believe it or not, that's one of my favorite places. I like biking. I like cooking. But in terms of making a living, I think I'd be doing this even if it costs me money, because I see a shape, I see a curve. I'm intrigued. I can see other things, and I love architecture, for example. I like good design. It can be a phone, it can be cooking utensil, whatever it is. I appreciate it, but I'm no good at making a living at it. I feel like if I had a connection to my earlier lives, I think I always was a harbor rat living somewhere, I call it rat, but a little grommet somewhere around marine environment, looking at ships, looking at how they rig them, boats, curves, why some are good, why some are no good. Always intrigued with that. That must have been me 500 years ago, and now wherever I visit a new place, I go to the harbor and it's like, I'm at home, you know. So it must be it. I look at an object, it's like something in the water. It's like, oh man, that glides, or that's fast, or that looks good, and try to learn from it. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm gonna just ask one last question, and we'll wrap it up. So, SIC just came out with an inflatable. Inflatables are insanely popular because of the accessibility. Proning is starting to get more popular on the mainland, particularly on the East Coast.
Really?
Yeah. Any thoughts about making a prone board?
Yeah, I've made a few before, and I keep being asked, like, how about coming out with one? I have 2 blanks waiting here. I'm game. I think it's the ultimate challenge because you just have 2 hands that brings you forward. So you can really tell if you made a bad board or a good board. Like, for example, on the other side of that, when you're doing windsurfing, you get yourself a big sail and any board would work. A paddleboard too, because you have so much leverage with the paddle, pretty much everything moves forward. But with a prone board, if it's too tippy or if it doesn't glide, you know right away. So I like that part. That's a good challenge. But I discussed it with some of the other guys in the team, and maybe I didn't realize on the East Coast it's popular.